Okay, welcome everyone to Social Media for the Busy Salesperson. The point of this presentation is really to show people that, social media isn't necessarily a time suck. I want to talk to you about how social media can actually be really useful to you in your business day to day. So we're going to get started here in just a moment. And before that, I'd like to do just a little bit of housekeeping. We want to make sure that we get to all your questions, and we will do questions at the end. You're welcome to put them in the chat box if you like, and I will go through them at the end of the presentation. And at that point, we'll also open mics so that people can ask questions. So without further hoo-ha, let's go ahead and get started. So a lot of people think that social media can be just a huge black hole. It doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to spend all day on Twitter chasing links. You don't have to spend all day digging. You can be very efficient about how you use social media, but that has to be one of your goals, right? So let's talk about how you can make social media more effective and get it done and still get your job done. The first thing, of course, is that you've got to focus on your goals. You might ask what those goals would be. Maybe it's finding new prospects. Maybe it's watching existing leads and learning more about them. What do they like to do for hobbies? How can you connect with them on a personal level? If you've got leads that are out there, you may suddenly see that they're actually talking about a competitor's product before they tell you that they're thinking about switching. It's a really good time to get in touch with them and find out what's going on out there and how can you help them stay committed to your product. Maybe you want to do competitive research with social media and find out what your competitors are up to. How are they perceived in the market? What do people say about them? What do they say about themselves? Listen for pain points with your competitor's product, but also listen for pain points in prospects and leads through the social media networks. And we're going to talk about listening in just a minute. The whole point is that there's a lot you can do here to solve problems, to become a resource, to find prospects and turn them into leads, and even turn people into evangelists for your company to make your job as a salesperson easier. The first thing that you're going to do, get prospecting. We all know that there's a lot of content out there. There are billions of people using social media in one way or another. And you've got to sift through all that to find the valuable gold at the bottom of the pile. So you can use social media networks to do that prospecting and then turn those prospects into leads. You can also kill the cold call. I don't know about you, but there's nothing I hate more than cold calls. In fact, I don't do it anymore. Part of that reason is because I use social media for everything. My business is a referral business. And so the referrals that don't come from existing clients come from my social outreach. They come from my blog and my Twitter account, LinkedIn, Google+, YouTube, a lot of different places. And being present in those places makes me more visible as a resource. And that's the really cool thing about social media. You shouldn't have to do cold calls anymore because now we're going to be warming up leads. Obviously, every salesperson knows that you need to know about a prospect before you talk to them. What are their pain points? What product issues can you find using social media? And then reach out to prospects or leads to give them the answers that they need. Even if it isn't relevant to your product, developing yourself as a resource can be a very powerful way to do sales without doing sales, to turn prospects that you haven't even talked to into warm leads that you can then approach. So you want to know what they need, know what their pain points are, know what their issues are, and know a little bit about them that's going to warm that first call up. I go to conferences all the time as a speaker, and people approach me and they know me because they know my avatar, they know a little bit about my hobbies, they know I've got a horse, they know I live in San Jose, they know I kayak. There's something there that they can get their fingernails under to approach me and start a conversation before they try to sell me something. And I'm much more likely to talk to someone who's done their homework. That starts with asking good questions. I was present at a really cool presentation the other day at Google by G.A. Bartik, and he told a story about how important it is to listen more carefully. That a lot of times we will listen to people's issues, and while they're talking, we're already thinking about what the answer is, how we're going to solve their problem, what they should do. We stop listening because we're so busy thinking about how we could sell them something. Instead of doing that, listen and then ask questions. Dig a little deeper. Ask people what they need so that you can actually learn about them. Once you've asked, say, 5 questions on a social media network, you're going to know a lot about that person. And it's not all going to be about, well, how can I sell you something? How can I sell you something? That's not why you're here. You're trying to create relationships that are going to make your relationship with them richer, your lead warm, so that you can actually have a conversation, and really so you can better understand the issues that people have around your product, in the market space that you're in, maybe with the competition. So there's a lot of things that you can do that really just take a good ear and listening to people. Obviously, that means that then you're going to be a resource. If people trust you as a resource in the market space that you're selling in, then naturally they're going to be drawn to you to buy something from you or to ask you for your advice. So finding ways to be more of a resource. Share industry information. Share information about products that are tangential to what it is that you sell. So let's say, for example, you sell real estate. Then it's very easy for you to recommend movers, to recommend house cleaners, to talk about the market information, and also to talk about local information and neighborhood information that makes you a resource for someone who's moving to that neighborhood, lets people know that you know their neighborhood if they're planning on selling. So there's a lot of things that you can do to be the go-to person in just a few minutes a day. Think of social media as one huge free-for-all focus group. It's very easy to do this kind of research and to ask questions. You can ask questions that are vague. They don't have to be specific about, do you like our widget, or is our software working for you? Instead, ask again about those pain points. What problems do you have with Get It Done software? Do you have a favorite project management software? And if so, why? And if it's not yours, that's okay. Ask them what they like about that product. This might be something that you could take to product development. It might be something that's coming up. It might even be something that you have in your product that they didn't even know was there. How many times have you approached a sales client and you assume that they know all the features of your product? They probably don't. They probably know the features of your product that really apply to exactly what they need to do to get their job done. People don't dig into the features. New features come up that nobody knows about. It's really easy for you to be letting people know about that through social media and helping solve their problems. And it's a great way for you to be that resource person to them. Now I want to talk about one of the most common social media networks that people think of when they think about finding sales leads. It's also great for HR, but in this case we're talking about sales. This is a diagram of one LinkedIn network. and you notice that there are different pods all around the page that are individuals who are influencers. And what we mean by influencers is that they're connected to a lot of people, and those people talk to them. They talk back. So there's a communication going on there. There's a relationship going on there. In some groups, people may stay very insular. If you look at the bottom group, that particular person has a very tight group of people. But then you notice that these lines go off to other networks. So not everyone in that network stays in a closed network. They talk to other people. So if you can find those people who talk to multiple networks and connect with multiple networks, you have a lot more power, because when you get them to talk about you, then they influence a lot more people. So if you look at this diagram in the upper left-hand corner, the person that's at the center of that network has a lot of relationships. The people in that network have a lot of relationships with people in other networks. So once you locate those people, then you can leverage that with LinkedIn, and you can use it to do a lot of research. So let's start with company pages. This is a company page for a client, Draeger Medical Devices in Germany. And if you look at their company page, you can learn a huge amount. Company pages are very undervalued as a research tool. So what can I find out? I can find out basic information about the company. I can find out people who have made moves within the company, people that I'm connected with or my friends are connected with. If my friends are connected with them, I can then reach out and say, hey, Sally, could you ask Daniel Beignet if he'd like to talk to me? I've got a really great idea for him. That's the traditional way of using LinkedIn. I haven't found it to be really as effective as it could be unless you've really got something that you want to share with Daniel that's going to be useful to him. You want Sally to go out on a limb and recommend you to this person, then you better have a really good reason. There are better ways to find people on LinkedIn and leverage that. So let's say that we look at the Draeger company page and we see that there are particular devices that are in use or particular people that we want to research. Then we can do a little more research. We can click on a person's profile and find out what groups they're in. Are those groups that I could potentially join and add value to the conversation? If I add value to a group, if I answer questions without doing any sales at all, just answer questions, ask good questions that people can answer that draw them in to a conversation, then again I become more visible. And at that point, if I'm in the same group as Daniel, now I can email him directly. Or I can email Sally and say, Daniel and I are in this group, and I'd really like to talk to him about a concept that he had. Can you connect us? Much more effective in social media than to just contact people out of the blue. I ignore a lot of those. The other thing you can do is go into groups. You can go in search by people or companies. In this case, I search for medical device, and now I'll see a list of groups that deal in medical devices. So if I'm a salesman in the medical device field, then I can look at this and find groups that are going to be relevant for me to add value to, again, not to sell, not to market, but to go in and be a valuable member of the community. I can also look and see which of my connections are there, what companies are listed, and I can look at skills too. If your particular thing that you're selling is related to a particular skill, think of how valuable it is to be able to go into LinkedIn, do a search on skills, find the people with those skills, and then begin the process of creating a relationship with them. Now another thing that's hugely valuable, Twitter search. Twitter is an amazing network, and one of the best things about Twitter, whether you tweet or not, is to use it for research. people share a huge number of links on Twitter. So this gives us a lot of really great information. You can use it for professional development. You can share it with your peers. If, for example, you are in the medical devices field, maybe you want to send links that you find on Twitter to those warm leads. Maybe you want to connect with people and then share information that's relevant to them, not about your product, but about things that are happening within the industry. Hey, Sal, did you see this? This is really cool. Did you know about this? There's a lot of things that you can share. Again, we're going back to that really classic sales technique. Make friends with people, and they will be drawn to you to buy your product. Follow up with your leads. How many times have you gone through, gosh, do people keep Rolodexes anymore? I'm not sure. How many times have you gone through a Rolodex and gone, oh, I've got to connect with this person and I've got to connect with that person? Do you have a list of people that you try to connect? Lots of my sales friends connect with 10, 20, 30 people a week and segment up their leads so that they touch everybody at least every couple of weeks or once a month. On Twitter, you can actually touch them every day. You could keep a deeper relationship without badgering them, without stalking them, without trying to sell them anything, but by being a resource and deepening that relationship. This is a search that I did on Twitter. Now, I did a search for house hunting. So let's say I'm a real estate agent and I want to find out who's looking for a house. So I would do a search for house hunting. Now, actually, there's a better way to do this. Advanced search on Twitter is very, very powerful. One of the things that it lets you do is search for sentences or complete phrases. Remember that on Twitter it's 140 characters, so you have to use shorthand, and you aren't always going to find a complete sentence anywhere. So I recommend using keywords. In this case, I entered house hunting again. I can sort by language or hashtags, and a hashtag is a tag that people use to find specific information. I can say people from these accounts. So I could put in my username, which is @jfouts. So I could put jfouts and from these accounts, and it would tell me when jfouts is searching for house hunting. I can also see if I've sent it to someone. So if it's a message from someone else to jfouts, I could put it in there. Or mentioning these accounts, maybe I want to use some of the classic accounts out there like RealBird, Trulia, some of those accounts. I can also choose places. This is pretty cool. So in this case, I'm going to look for house hunters in San Francisco. Obviously, the more you put in here, the finer point you're going to be able to get on it, but the less results you're going to get. So this is the result of my house hunting near San Francisco. Now I'm really drilling down. I'm seeing that someone is on the hunt for a house in San Francisco with their mister. I see that somebody is asking Trulia for information about specific results on relevant data. I see that somebody else is complaining about house hunting, but I can see that they've mentioned a specific person. So I may go look at that specific person and see if there's anything that I can do to help them. Now, I'm not going to approach them and say, hey, I'm a realtor, I can help you find a house. No. I'm going to say, San Francisco's a big city. Where are you looking? What neighborhoods do you like? Oh, Potrero Hill? Yeah, Potrero Hill's really great. There's a great deli. You know, the train's getting a little bit easier to access at the bottom of the hill. Think about things that you can talk to that make you a friend, not a salesperson. Now let's look at Google+. Now I did a quick search for Draeger Medical because it's easy for me to find them. And so I went to Google+, which is google.com/PLUS, and I logged in with my account and I did a search for Draeger Medical. It immediately shows me several people who work for Draeger Medical. So I'm just going to pick one and go look at her profile. And the reason I'm showing you this is because you need to understand how to research people on networks like Google+, not just LinkedIn. So on Google+, I can learn a lot from her, about her, from her About page. I'm looking right now at the About page for Pascual Cora. I can get an idea that, yeah, she's into photography and she's got kids. On the left-hand side, I can send a message to her in Google+ or an email through her Gmail account. Below that, I can see who she has in her circles. Now, Google+ is unique because it allows you to curate groups of people into circles. So unlike Twitter and Facebook and lots of other places, when I send a message out, if I have friends who are interested in horses and real estate and kayaking and social media, and I have a message about my horse, social media people are probably not interested, probably not the kayakers. So I create a circle, and I only put people in that circle who are interested in horses. At that point, I can send a message directly to those people on Google+, and I'm not spamming all the rest of my friends with stuff about my horse. This allows us to really focus our messaging, and people tend to really pay attention because they're not being numbed by all of your messages. So with her, we know that she's interested in photography. We know that some of the people that she has circled, the guy with the red icon, for example, is Thomas Hawk. Very famous photographer, beautiful, amazing work. If you like photography, you should definitely follow him. And so we can learn a lot about her and who her friends are. We can also go down to see who has her in circles and find out who is interested in her. In the middle, we can click on posts and see things that she shared with the world publicly, not to her circles, because when you share to a circle, it stays within that circle. It isn't public unless you make it public. On the right-hand side, I get all this information about her other social media profiles. I can see that she's got a blog, she's on Flickr and Twitter and Facebook, she's got a YouTube channel, and she participates in Buzz, which this is an old screenshot. That's dead now. And her recommended links is to her blog. So I can find out a lot about this person. If I want to contact her for a sales opportunity, if I want to start warming her up as a lead, I can start to communicate. I can share photographs. I can reshare her content. And by doing that, become in a relationship with her. So all of this is really great information, but it sounds like it's work again, doesn't it? It sounds like it's really going to suck you into that black hole. And I really don't want that to happen. Some of this is research, and yes, it's going to take time. I'm not going to tell anybody that it's not going to take time. But it doesn't mean that it has to take all day. And the way you get around that is by using alerts. Alerts are hugely powerful. So let's start with the easiest one. Socialmention.com is a very useful website that allows you to search across multiple social media networks. With this tool, I can search blogs and microblogs and bookmarks and comments and events and images, news items, videos, audio, Q&A, networks. I can search pretty much darn near anything with Social Mention. And the best part, it sends out an RSS feed. So if you're used to subscribing to blogs, you can subscribe to this by email, or you can subscribe to it in an RSS reader like Google Reader. You can have it send you email alerts with the search, and you can export the file in a CSV so you can send it to Excel and find out what all this information is. You can also filter out things. One of the things about social mention is that because Twitter is such a resource for links, it'll show up more than anything else. I don't care what you search for, Twitter is going to be at the top of the pile. But you can change that by just searching blogs, for example, or just videos. Maybe you looking for information to share with your network to make yourself more of a resource. You can search for videos that are related to your industry and then share them with your social media networks. So this is a really great way to find information. It's also a really great way to get alerts that's going to make your life easier. Tweet Beep. This is just for Twitter, and it will send you hourly updates on any keyword that you put in. So let's say, for example, that you sell routers. Well, you can set up a Twitter alert for your brand of router, for people making comments about that, the competition's router, routers in general. Maybe there's a specific feature that you're going to be coming out with your router, and you want everybody to know about it as soon as possible. Start doing a search for that keyword, and then you can find those people that are having that discussion and say, oh, we're going to be solving your problems in just a little while because we've got this great feature coming out. We'd love for you to beta test. Lots of opportunities are in Twitter that you might not have thought were there because you thought everybody was talking about their peanut butter sandwich. That's really common, that everybody thinks that about Twitter. Not true. Lots of really great information to share. You just need to know how to get it. You need to do searches. Topsy is another really good tool for searching on Twitter. What Topsy does is give us a lot deeper information than Twitter search or TweetBeep. It's very rich information. We can find out how many tweets per day there are, how many mentions there are of a particular thing. In this case, I just did salesperson as a hashtag. That's what the pound sign means. I'm sorry, I'm not going to get into how to use the network specifically today because it would just go on all day. But if you're interested in learning more about specific networks, please contact me, and I'll give you my contact information at the end of this presentation. But a hashtag is a pound sign with an acronym or a word after it that allows people to click on that in Twitter and learn all about that particular thing, in this case, salesperson. So I can find photos and videos and comments, and I can get this as an RSS feed. I can get it as alerts, or I can share it. I can just email the results to someone. Maybe it's another person on your sales team. Maybe it's somebody in marketing who needs to have an idea of what's going on out there. So how do you keep on top of it without it getting on top of you? You know, I love this slide because it really, people feel so buried by social media. And it's a lot to take in, especially if you're new to social media. It can be a lot to take in. But it doesn't have to be overwhelming. You do not have to do it all at once. Start with doing some searches on social mention and deciding what networks are really going to be a good fit for you as a person and for you as a representative of a company. Some networks may work better than others. It's very hard to say. So you need to do some searches and find out where are people talking about you the most. Then start with just that one network. Don't join them all at once. You'll kill yourself trying to keep up with it. It's not worth it. Start with one, get to know it, get comfortable, and then expand, maybe to another network or maybe to more networks. But start with one. Scheduling your time. This is huge. I don't know about you, but I check my email 3 times a day. I get 2,000 emails a day, and I still check my email 3 times a day. And the reason for that is that if I jumped up and checked my email every time that little bell went off on my desktop, I would never get any work done. Same thing with Twitter. When I first started using Twitter, I would leave it open in my extra monitor all day long. and I was so distracted. It's kind of like, when your kids are doing homework and they're listening to the radio or they're playing music or they're actually playing a video game and doing their homework at the same time. People do that. It really seems really distracting, and it is. They can say they're still getting their homework done, but studies have shown that multitasking doesn't really exist. So you need to schedule your time, chunk tasks. I, for one, read a lot of blog posts in the morning, and then I schedule those shares of that information to go out during the day. But I get my reading done in the morning. I check my email 3 times a day. I use an app on my iPhone called Tweetbot. And Tweetbot allows me to manage multiple accounts. It alerts me when one of those accounts gets mentioned or a retweet or a direct message. It lets me know, so I really only have to pick up my phone when I get a mention. So I can keep on top of it without keeping Twitter open in the window all day long. It helps me be more effective. There are a lot of tools that can do this for you. Here are a few of them. Left to right, we've got HootSuite at the bottom, Buffer app, which I'll show you screens of both of these in a little bit. Sprout Social is another really great tool for social media management. Exact Target is a really cool tool for corporations. This used to be called CoTweet, and now it's called Exact Target. And what it does is really create a management tool for social media management for corporations. Very cool. OfferPop has a relatively new service that not only allows you to do offers and discounts and contests on Facebook and Twitter, but it also lets you do social media management. So all of these tools allow you to do social media management at a specific level. So I wanted to show you HootSuite first. This is a screenshot from my HootSuite. You can see that I've got tabs across the top. Some of them are for clients. Some of them are for my other social media networks. You can manage a lot of social media networks through HootSuite. If you're corporate, you can actually use, if you're an enterprise user, you can use Google Plus through this. The rest of us, we get to use Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook. You can also connect it with YouTube, and there are several applications. I use it with HubSpot as well, the CRM, and I can actually take my leads from HubSpot and import them into HootSuite and then see what they're doing on social media networks. So I can monitor just my clients or just my leads, even more importantly, also my leads in HootSuite. I can also delegate. So let's say that somebody sends a tweet into my account and I can't manage it. I can delegate it to an assistant. Hey, can you answer this? I can delegate it to a marketing person. Hey, I don't have the answer to this, but I know you do. So I can share those kind of things, and then it will alert me when somebody else responded to it. You see in the middle of this third column, Kimberly responded to this. So this is something that my assistant has responded to for me. I don't have to do it now. I know that she's taken care of it. I can also set up searches for hashtags. BWE Chat is a chat with the Boston Wine Expo that we're having tonight. So I'm watching that chat to make sure that people are excited and they're ready to go and make sure there aren't any questions. So if there's an event coming up, I can monitor this and find out about them. I'm also set up a search, just a regular search for medical device. Now I can see anything anybody says about medical device on Twitter. I can find links. I can find information. I can learn a lot of stuff. You can have up to 20 of these in HootSuite, which is one of the reasons that I like this one over all the rest of the tools. It gives me much more flexibility, and I need a lot of stuff. Buffer app. Now, Buffer app is really super, super cool because what it does is allow you to schedule. Now remember I said that I read my blog posts in the morning. And I do. I read a lot of blog posts in the morning. And so when I read them, I can click a link, a bookmarklet, in my browser window for Buffer app and send that message to Buffer app. And it will send it out when I tell it to send it out. So rather than flooding my network with everything I learned this morning, I will send it out over the day using Buffer app. I can pick specific times for every single day of the week. And Buffer will just fill those up, and it will send them out, and I won't have to deal with it. I can make comments. I can decide which of my networks, which of my accounts it's going to go to. And this one even works with app.net, which is really cool, a really cool little network that not many people are aware of yet. But I can send to Twitter, I can send to LinkedIn, I can send it to my Facebook page or my Facebook profile. I can connect a lot of things with Buffer app, and it saves me a ton of time. Okay, so now I would love to open it to questions.